My agency has worked with dozens of cleaning companies that convert anywhere between 40 to 65% of the cold leads they speak to. We've also worked with plenty of companies that only convert a fraction of this number. You see, most people think the key to scaling to 7 figures is just generating more leads, but this is only part of the equation. The truth is, if you don't have the sales portion dialed in, you're just going to be pouring water into a leaky bucket. So I exported 100 calls from our top performing members, uploaded them, got AI transcripts, boiled everything down into a 10-step sales framework. And if you give me just about 15 minutes, I'm gonna share with you this framework so that you can start charging premium rates, double your conversion rate, and scale your cleaning business way faster. So let's dive right into it. So this framework involves things that are very unique to a lot of the companies we work with, but also some specific trainings or resources from other sales material online, such as books or courses. So this is really going to be like a value-packed system. And the framework actually revolves around something that Jordan Belfort's The Wolf of Wall Street created, which is called the straight line system. And if you guys are unfamiliar with how this works, we want to keep our prospect as close to this line as possible from the open of the call to the closing of the call. And if I were to just draw like some dotted lines up top here, as well as at the bottom, typically throughout a call, there's going to be very normal undulations. So anytime the prospect brings up an objection or a little bit of friction, that is going to either move them up towards these dotted lines or below these dotted lines. And the problem with this is that if they go past these dotted lines, you've essentially lost the sale. So it might look something like this, where maybe they give you like a price objection, then, it goes down here, there's not enough emotion, then maybe there's another peak and so on and so forth. So we want to try and limit this as much as possible. And just to give you some examples, an example of it going too high would be if they express too much emotion. So these would be common objections, such as like them saying that it's too expensive, right? And then something where there's not enough emotion, which would represent like somewhere around here, would be something like, let me think about it. Let me talk to my spouse. We're going on vacation. I have to get back to you, right? So we want to pre-conquer this as much as possible. And we do this by taking control of the call. So the very first step of this is going to be building rapport. And really all you're doing in this section, to put it simply, is just being human. So ask them about their day, ask them if they have any weekend plans going on. You could also take information from, let's say, the contact form that they fill out. So if you see that they live in a certain city, maybe ask them about that. Like, oh, I saw you're located in Greenwich. Is that right? They reply, yes, I am. You say, oh, great. Okay. Yeah, my kids actually go to school over there. They say like, oh, no way. Really? My kids do too, right? So just doing like one or two of these little comments really goes a long way. Now, the next step of this call framework is going to be the discovery section. And this is where you really want to get emotional buy-in from the prospect. So I think most people actually screw this part up here. This is where they completely lose the call, because most companies, they get on the phone with the prospect and they go straight into the standard questions like, how many bedrooms or bathrooms is your home? Okay, awesome. And can I get the square footage? All right, do you have any pets, right? And then by the end of it, they give them the quote. Okay, Mrs., your quote is going to be $285. And this is just like a calculator approach. You gave the prospect nothing else to consider, nothing else to feel deep down inside other than the price, which any company can do. And this is like a very logical sales framework, but really we need to go more into here. This is what the top closers do. This is how they tap into the emotional side of the call. So this is where you're going to ask them not surface level questions, but rather more open-ended questions, such as things like, okay, so what made you want to reach out today? Let them open up. Or another good one is, what's the ideal outcome that you're hoping for with our service? See how that's very open-ended? And oftentimes at this portion, you're going to start gathering ammunition, which can later be used for the call. So we're going to go into that in more detail. But this is where people might tell you, well, we had a previous cleaner who was doing okay in the beginning, but then their results started to lack. Or maybe they tell you about specific problem areas of their home. So that's really good if you can get them to explain how the bathroom is really dirty. Maybe they have physical limitations. They can't keep it clean anymore. Very important for later on in the call. So now we move on to step 3. This is what I call the clutterness scale. And the whole purpose of this step of the call is to get them to agree to some type of definition of where their home's at. We found that the easiest way to do this is just asking the prospect on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is spotless, 10 is a disaster zone, where would you rate your home? And this kind of like reduces a little bit of the friction. Most of the time, your prospects will sort of chuckle at this. So getting the prospect to agree to some type of number is very important because, one, this is going to help you with the quote itself. Obviously, not everybody is going to be very truthful, so take this with a grain of salt. But also, this is going to allow them to actually consider why this is a problem for them. And as we alluded to earlier, the more emotional buy-in we can get from these prospects, the better it is for our sale. So step 4, this is going to be capturing their exact words. Now, this isn't so much a specific section of the call as much as it is something that you just want to keep a general pulse on throughout. You just want to keep a mental note of things that they're saying. So again, going back to the bathroom example, if they mentioned how that's a big problem area for them, right? So if they talk about how there's soap scum or maybe some like mildew growing behind the tile, that's something that you could specifically write down or just take note of mentally to bring it back to them later on. And ideally, you're going to have a couple different points throughout the call that they're going to express as problem areas or things that are important to them. And you literally just want to rephrase exactly what they told you because it shows that you were listening, and that's going to help you with the close. So step number 5, by now we've gathered a bunch of intel on our prospects, and what we're going to do is we're going to offer our solution to them. Now, most people say something very boring and generic, like, okay, so here's what our deep clean includes. We do this, right? And they sort of just read it off as like a car wash package, where it's like, okay, you go with the silver plan, this is what it includes. You go with the gold plan, this is what it includes. But here's how we can make this more effective. If we give them more of a tailored pitch, where we simply say, based on everything you told me, here's what I'd recommend. And before just listing out the services in your package, you could say something like, well, Sarah, you told me how your bathroom was a problem area. So what we're going to recommend for you is definitely a deep cleaning. For this initial cleaning, our girls are going to come in and make sure that we get rid of all that mildew, all that black spots behind your tile. Then also you mentioned that you had pets, right? So your bedrooms and the carpet in your living room are probably problem areas. Here's what we're going to do to make sure that that stays in tip-top shape for the next 3 weeks, right? So now it's feeling like a more custom solution to them, and they are much more likely to bite on this. All right, so now we get to the goods. Here's where we're going to state the price. So you want to keep this very simple, but sound confident when you pitch the price. So you're going to say something like, all right, Sarah, so your investment for this would be $430. How does that sound? And this line right after is very important. How does that sound? Does that sound good? Are we on the same page? And then you shut up. You go into silence. There's a famous quote in sales that says the first person who speaks after the price is presented usually loses the sale. And the whole idea is that after we pitch the price, we want to let them express their answer. Usually one of two things is going to happen. They're either going to say, yes, let's do it, or, and more commonly, especially if you're newer to this, is they're going to give you some type of objection. And this is totally normal. A lot of people, the first time they sense an objection, they immediately buy into it. You know, the person asks for a discount, let's say, and you immediately hesitate and you go, okay, yeah, we can give you a discount. But there's a much better approach. We're going to go on to that into the next step. So as I said, typically by now you're going to be dealing with objections such as, wow, that's very expensive, or let me get back to you. But let's just start with the pricing one because this one is going to be way more common. So you don't want to make the mistake of saying, okay, yeah, we can discount your first cleaning. Because here's the thing. First of all, you're setting poor expectations with that client because now they're going to be expecting discounts forever. In the future, if they know how easy it is for you to just lower your price to serve them, you're going to deal with problem clients. They're going to take advantage of that. But also, the other thing I don't like about this is let's just pretend you went through your whole pitch. It was 430, let's say, and they asked if they can get a discount, and you say, Okay, sure. Well, we can bring it down to 375. Well, even though you're meeting their desired request, now they're thinking, wow, what happened if I didn't ask for a discount? I would have just arbitrarily gotten charged 55 more dollars. So it's never a good idea to discount them. Here is actually a much better option. What you're going to do here is offer them a smaller tier. So oftentimes when you're quoting these people for a first time clean, it's going to be more expensive the first time. Instead of reducing the price on that, what you could do is with a mini downsell. And this is where you could say something like, all right, Mr. Prospect, unfortunately, we can't lower the price on our initial clean. However, if pricing is really a problem for you, what we could do is we could downgrade your option from a deluxe cleaning to a standard cleaning. This will save you $60. However, we won't be quite able to give you the same level of attention to some of these problem areas, such as your baseboards, the refrigerator cleaning like you wanted, etc. That way, it's very fair for both ends, you as the company and the prospects. Your quality isn't diminished, anything like that. It just gives them sort of a mini downsell. All right. And then by now, you should have like pretty much a 90% certainty that this person is ready to close. So how you present the close is you want to sort of give them like two options to pick for. So you don't want to leave this too open-ended where you say, okay, would you like to book? Because this is where another objection can come in. Like, oh, well, let me review the quote with my spouse and I'll get back to you. Instead, what you could say is, all right, great. So sounds like we're kind of on the same page. If you want to get booked this week, we have availability as soon as Tuesday or Thursday afternoon. What's better for you? This is called an assumed close. And this is definitely going to increase your closing percentage. Now, by this point, your call is pretty much done. You've done all the heavy lifting. Now you just don't want to basically screw it up right before the cleaning happens. So this is where you could just set quick expectations. Like, okay, so since the quote is based on what you described, we won't know for sure until our cleaners actually get there. So just an FYI, it might not be 100% accurate until we see your home. And that transparency will help reduce cancellations. It sets expectations, reduces any surprises later. And I would also recommend having some type of confirmation text message and email, and also some reminders leading up to their first cleaning. It just makes you look more professional and again, reduces the chances of them canceling last minute. And then step number 10, the close. This is the fun part. So as I mentioned, sending them the reminders, but really more importantly, making sure that you absolutely wow them on that first cleaning. You know, this is your chance to plant that seed of working long-term on a reoccurring basis, which, as you know, that's always the ultimate goal with this business model. So we want to make sure that we provide them an awesome service, and that's essentially it. All right, guys, so just a quick recap of the full 10 steps. So first, we're going to build rapport on that first 15 to 20 seconds of the call, make small talk. Then we're going to ask at least 2 discovery questions, so not service level, but really get them to have emotional buy-in to why they're contacting us. Then we want to use the scale 1 to 10 system, the clutterness scale, just to get an idea for where their home stands in terms of cleanliness. Then step number 4, we want to capture their exact words, take mental note of what they're saying to you. Then when we present our service, we're going to present it as a tailored solution, not a templated, commoditized solution. Then step number 6, state the price, go silent. Step number 7, we're gonna expect some objections, but we know how to handle them properly, especially with the price objection, offering them a downsell, not discounting our service. Step number 8, assume the close, give them 2 options to choose from. Step number 9, we're going to set expectations before that first cleaning and reassure them that they're in the right spot. And then step number 10, this is where you close, you get paid, and you start scaling your cleaning company. So I guarantee that if you guys implement this same 10-step call system into your own cleaning business, you will instantly start closing way more people. This allows you to charge higher prices and get those quality clients that you need to build a profitable cleaning business. Now, as I mentioned, sales is a huge portion to making sure that the economics and the growth of your cleaning business is in the right spot. But you do also need traffic, because without leads, you also won't be able to grow. Now, luckily for you, I have a video right here that goes over on one of our best traffic sources to get leads for your cleaning business. Check it out. You won't want to miss it.